So we're talking about share price performances. I mean, I don't want to say the word bubble, but just like I'm always suspicious when a stock goes up because of something in the news like this. Like right after 9/11, Taser was the stock to own.
Sure.
It's just, I don't know. But apparently, and, we can dive in a little bit more here. They've actually been making a lot of money, like real money.
Absolutely. So Smith & Wesson, we'll talk about them first. They are up almost 200% since the end of 2012. And, that I feel like that time frame in particular is important. That was the last time President Obama, I feel like, made major calls for more gun control.
Right.
This was after the Sandy Hook tragedy, of course. And 2013 just ended up being a huge boon year for these companies. To just give you a little bit of context, so, the FBI, they have their NICS background check system. And while it's not a perfect proxy for gun sales in the U.S., it does give you an idea.
Ballpark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, at least a trend, for example. And so the system's been in place since 1998. They've been tracking this data. And just to give you an idea.
So these are people applying to buy guns.
But each application could be for more than one, for example.
Okay.
And it doesn't cover all purchases, some being like private party sales, things along those lines.
Gun shows, stuff like that.
5 of its top 10 highest days where it recorded the most checks were in late 2012.
Wow.
Okay, so 5 of its 10 highest days were in late 2012. And by far the biggest week in terms of checks that they've logged, the FBI's logged, was between December 17th and December 23rd of 2012.
Merry Christmas.
Over 950,000 checks.
I was about to say, was it 1 million? Like, how many was it?
It was 950,000 for that week. And then the second record is actually a recent week from last month. It's like 860,000 maybe. So it's a huge difference.
Right.
And you also have to keep in mind, and we'll touch on this a little bit in terms of the prospects more recently, is the fact that, people were talking about Black Friday, biggest day ever in terms of new background checks being submitted. So
buy one get one free.
Smith & Wesson, along with much of the firearms industry, they rode that surge of demand well into about 2014. Everybody was worried.
Then nothing happened, right?
No, nothing happened. The stock peaked at about over $16 per share, so that was up 90% from end of 2012.
Right.
And once the panic buying essentially had tapered off, the stores or a lot of the dealers, the distributors, they saw their inventory building up quickly because
right,
the fears were gone.
Everybody calm down. Yeah,
exactly. So those quickly rose, and as a result, the stock struggled actually. And ended up losing almost all of its gains from that prior 2-year period in 2014.
Which is my concern again. Like I'm just like anyway.
An inherent thing that we'll get to later is the volatility of these companies. But not long after it started the stock bottomed out. 6 months later, gun control reemerged as a major political issue in 2015, especially with the presidential campaigns kicking off for a lot of candidates. And 2015 again became a big boon year for this company, where the stock rebounded 132%, and for the new year, as you've seen with these executive orders coming down, their 2016 is looking very, very good for them as well.
So what were their revenues doing? I took a quick glance, and in these years where the stocks go up, it's like revenues are like 50% year over year.
So looking at it quarterly, so in 2013 quarters, for example, total revenue up 40% year over year, 26%. And then after that 2013 surge quickly subsided, it was down to single digits, and then it fell. So by 2014, you were looking at like a 24% year over year drop in revenue. You're seeing those big swings in demand based on, honestly, not necessarily business fundamentals, but
fear.
Exactly. Now, the company in its most recent quarter, so announced its fiscal 2016 second quarter results last month around this time.
Okay.
It boasted 32% year-over-year revenue growth. Gross margin was up 7.1 percentage points.
This is a growth tech company we're
and
talking about.
Adjusted,
that's what those numbers
adjusted
are.
earnings were up 150%. So, and just yesterday, I probably contributing to the huge surge day where the stock's up like 12, 13%, the company raised its sales and earnings guidance for the quarter and full year. So fiscal 2016 revenue, which ends in April, I believe, it's expected to come in between $650 and $660 million, while adjusted earnings will be between $136 and $141 per share. So that represents about 19% top line growth and 36% bottom line growth if you use the middle of those ranges, compared to 2014 full year, that is.
So obviously you got Sturm & Ruger. Smith & Wesson's kind of a bellwether for industry. How are things looking for them going forward?
Sure,
Did you come across anything?
So, looking forward, I think the company's honestly it's going to benefit from a lot of this uncertainty that's around this presidential election, because basically, the way it comes down is if you have a Democrat take office.
One thing that I was about to chime in with. I was like, it's crazy to me sometimes how much a presidential election can affect a stock. I remember I bought the stock because Buffett owned it, but it's USG. This is like my first stock I ever bought. I was like 16. But they make drywall. It's sheetrock, United States Gypsum. And they were being sued for like $2.1 billion for asbestos litigation. This is in the 2004 election. And the stock went up like double the day Bush got reelected, just because they figured that a Republican administration would be kinder to a company.
More business friendly.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, I did not anticipate that at all. I'm almost wondering if that's going to happen again in, a year.
Yeah, so people are going to come down like really hard lines, whether or not there will be a ton of new regulations depending on the president. It doesn't even matter. It's what's perceived.
Right.
And for 2016, until the run up, until the results are announced, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, and I think the company will benefit from that, at least for the next year or two. And then beyond that, if you're looking at just more of the fundamental
business, it's a
business,
coin flip at that point then, though.
Exactly. Consumers, though, make up about 90% of the Smith & Wesson business.
Do they sell to the government at all?
So they do have a huge opportunity there to increase some of their selling with government contracts, because ultimately the U.S. government
10% isn't.
The U.S. government is still one of the biggest buyers of firearms in this country, if not the largest.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an area of opportunity for them looking forward.
Cool. Okay. So talk to me about Sturm & Ruger.
Okay. So I wanted you to look at this almost like very closely as like a mirror image.
Okay.
So in terms of a lot of that performance in 2013, how things dipped in 2014, and how they've recovered last year, all of that is almost exactly the same. Maybe a shift in terms of the exact timing, but overall very similar. So for example, Sturm Ruger shares gained 70% in 2013 when revenue was up 40% over the previous year. Again, after the fears from the Sandy Hook tragedy. The stock peaked in early 2014, so a little bit earlier than Smith & Wesson. In that year, sales fell 21%. Very tough comparisons, right? Very tough comparisons. And the stock plummeted, reversed all of its gains, lost about 60%. More than the gains it made, lost 60%. And in 2015, again, it roared back 70% on the surge in demand. So last November, the company reported its third quarter results, and sales were up 23% year over year to $120.9 million. Earnings per share up 82%. Sound familiar? And its new products, which include all its major new offerings from the past 2 years, made up about a fifth of total sales in the first 9 months of 2015. So obviously, their product pipeline that's coming in, it's doing quite well. It's very popular.